Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This one is a bit different than my usual ramblings. This one is a bit more scripted. And I took my time really delving into this topic so that way I could really understand it fully. So I hope you enjoy the video, and we will discuss some news at the end for the Season 1 launch that's happening in 2 days as I'm recording and uploading this video. As always, I hope you enjoy the video. Have a great day. Let's be honest. The true enemy in Battlefield isn't the opposing team. It's the toxicity within the community. This entire space, from the forums to the in-game chat, is defined by a bitter, relentless stream of harassment and vitriol. It's a community where differing opinions are met with ridicule, accusations, and sometimes even threats. We need to be clear. A healthy community requires us to share opinions, listen, and be accepting of other viewpoints. That is the foundation of discourse. The problem isn't the disagreement. The problem is that one side will weaponize toxicity to try and enforce a specific design philosophy. Try to suggest that high-level play, sweaty tactics, or skill-based movement should be embraced, and you will be immediately condemned. Why? Because a massive chunk of the quote-unquote feedback you see isn't genuine. It's a defense mechanism used by players who want the game catered to their own skill level. There's a bad argument being used to defend bad Battlefield design, and it's the most common excuse for every questionable change in Battlefield 6. It's for the sake of realism. But I'm here to tell you that this realism is not a feature, it is a smokescreen. It's an alibi for design choices made to raise the skill floor and maximize sales via cheap thrills. The debate is not between milsim and arcade, it's about skill gap. We need to stop letting bad players and defensive designers use realism as a shield for poor mechanics. Who are these loud voices? They are most universally low KD players with low time investment in the franchise. Yet they are the first to cite their status as a Battlefield veteran, to try and lend weight to their complaints. Their claim of veteran status is often a lie. They were never truly good at a single Battlefield game. It is an insult to the dedicated player base. They hide behind words like realism, or they demand a weighty feel, but their goal isn't to preserve the franchise, it's to pander to their own inadequacy. An opinion rooted in low skill and low commitment is simply less valuable than one coming from a dedicated player who has mastered the mechanics. Historically, Battlefield's realism has been cosmetic and conceptual. The destruction, the combined arms. We sacrifice realism for gameplay all the time. The healing system, parachuting out of a jet, or instantly loading into a tank. The mechanics being defended with the realism excuse, like harsh movement penalties and uncontrollable spread, fall into the category of optional realism. This defense is selective and self-serving. In Battlefield 6, these false veterans got what they asked for. The game is intentionally built to shield mediocrity. It's not about recoil, it's about the movement penalties that slam the brakes on skill expression. When a game replaces learnable recoil with crazy levels of unpredictable spread, or bloom as you might have heard, it is explicitly telling the dedicated player, your thousands of hours of practice are irrelevant. The outcome of this fight will be determined by a random number generator, not your skill. This core design choice flattens the skill gap. As well, the TTK is so aggressive that when combined with the typical server latency and network delay you'll experience in this game, the perception of time to die is almost instantaneous. This is what leads to the infuriating feeling of dying behind corners, where your client saw you reach safety, but the server saw you killed 3 feet ago. You had no chance to input a reaction. This technical reality creates a perfect shield for the low-skill player. The stationary camper gets the full benefit of their pre-aim, while the aggressive player's high-skill movement is completely negated by both the design and the technical reality. On the topic of the TTK, the BTK, or bullets to kill, is entirely too low. Weapons often kill in 3 to 4 bullets with a fire rate of 700 plus. This is effectively instantaneous. This massively hurts the outplay potential within a gunfight, regardless of how many hours you have. Whoever shoots first is probably going to win. The cumulative effect of all of this is that Battlefield 6 has almost zero outplay potential and mechanics to learn. Your only realistic tools for surviving are spamming smoke grenades or resorting to constant elaborate flanks, or just sitting still. These are workarounds for fundamentally flawed gunplay. This begs the question, why does any of this matter? Why is a high skill gap a foundational requirement for a healthy game? First, the reward for mastery. A wide skill gap ensures that the dedicated players putting time into the game are meaningfully rewarded with better performance. Mastery is the primary driver of engagement. When the game uses random bloom or a hyperfast TTK to level the playing field, it fundamentally removes that challenge. The game becomes boring, because once you've learned the map and the objective rotation, there's nothing left to master on the infantry level. Second, longevity and challenge. A low skill ceiling guarantees a game will die fast. The reason dedicated players stuck with titles like BF3 or BF4 for years is the sheer consistent depth of the mechanics. When developers actively flatten the skill gap, they remove the incentive for deep player investment. They are saying, you don't need to try harder, you just need to play longer. This trades the excitement of earned skill for the grind of artificial progression. Now, let's address the counter-argument that you hear constantly. A high skill gap makes the game inaccessible and scares away the casual audience. This is the paradox of skill that developers cite, but they are misdiagnosing the problem. The true problem isn't the skill ceiling, it's the barrier to entry. The solution is better onboarding, not crippling the core mechanics. When DICE actively flattens the skill gap, they don't solve accessibility. They simply kill the game's longevity, sacrificing the veteran player for a casual one they can't even guarantee will stick around. So, if a manageable skill gap is good for the community, why are developers actively fighting it? The answer lies in the corporate motive: maximizing sales via Battle Pass and microtransactions. The low skill ceiling is compensated by an artificially high progression ceiling. The gameplay isn't rewarding enough on its own, so the progression loop becomes the primary source of dopamine and retention. Players are kept engaged not by perfecting their aim, but by constantly chasing the next weapon skin, Battle Pass tier, or cosmetic unlock. This low skill floor is ultimately a business decision to ensure mass accessibility and high Battle Pass adoption, and just sales in general. The developers are using cheap thrills and relentless progression to force players into a monetization loop, sacrificing the refined, skill-based gameplay that defined the franchise's greatness for short-term revenue. Ultimately, this is a conflict over design philosophy. We need to stop demanding either pure realism or pure arcade chaos, and instead demand a balance. The progression systems, battle passes, and cosmetics should be the icing on the cake, a fun, continuous reward for playing. But the actual cake must be the refined, skill-based gameplay. To the developers, I would simply say, a balanced skill gap is not an accident, it is a feature. When you prioritize the integrity of the mechanics that reward mastery, you don't just sell a copy. You build a dedicated community that invests in your game for a decade. But despite all of this, let me leave you with this. I still love this franchise. I always have. I'll always stick around and try my best to have fun and enjoy the games, regardless of their flaws. Battlefield gave me some of the best memories I have. It's just disheartening to see the current generation prioritize accessibility and monetization over the earned satisfaction that made the older games true classics for me. It's just not the same anymore. Now, to wrap things up, I wanted to discuss the things that are planned for the Season 1 drop. They did release the patch notes on Twitter, so let's dive in on the important changes and mention anything we can think of that needs improving, because we just want this game to be the best it can be. Okay, here we are. This came out like 2 days ago. Okay, this came out on the 24th. They posted this on the Battlefield Comms Twitter channel. I would follow them if you haven't already, and they post stuff all the time when it comes to new changes for the game. They actually mentioned the major updates right here. But anyways, if you didn't know, there's going to be 2 separate updates. It looks like the update goes live at 9 UTC, and then the Season 1 content update comes a little bit later that day. So these update changes will come out early in the morning, whereas the Battle Pass and other content will come out later in the day. Let's take a look here. Improved core movement animations, including smoother landings, faster stance transitions, better vaulting behavior, and reduced bouncing issues on landing or spawning. This sounds awesome. Yeah, this sounds like it's going to solve a lot of issues that I have with the game. We'll see what better vaulting behavior means. Not really sure there, or smoother landings, but faster stance transitions is really cool. That means like crouch spamming or going prone. I'm not saying that I want crouch spamming or drop shotting, but give me something to do in the game would be nice. Let's see here. And they said reduced bouncing issues on landing or spawning. I'm not sure if that is talking about, that could be the ladder bug that you've seen all over. The ladder bug is ridiculous. Anyways, this is a big one. Reworked weapon dispersion or weapon spread, bloom, whatever, to better align accuracy and handling with each weapon's intended design and performance over range. These changes address cases where accuracy behaved inconsistently, such as dispersion not properly settling after sprinting, and bring overall firing behavior closer to the intended balance between precision, control, and weapon power. This is awesome. This is basically the change saying SMGs are not going to be the one and only weapon to use in this game, besides LMGs, that is. But carbines and assault rifles are going to have their accuracy tweaked. Significant visibility and lighting improvements with better exposure transitions, interior lighting, and reduced fog and smoke persistence. This is insanely nice. The visibility in this game is next to horrible, and I really, really like this change. They're doing the better exposure transition, which means the kind of the HDR feel. When you're exiting a building, it's really bright, and then your eyes will adjust. That's a stupid mechanic and needs to go. And then whenever you're entering a building, your eyes will, open up and draw in more light. So there's these exposure effects that happen, which are just a realism camera feature to make the game look better. But it's a campaign thing, and it shouldn't be in multiplayer because it really hurts the visibility. There's plenty of times when you're about to enter a building and players just can't see you. It's kind of funny because you can see them sometimes. It's dark, but you can see them, and you'll just shoot them, and they're just running around because they can't see you at all. So I'm super happy. And then also the reduced smoke and fog persistence is awesome. That means like whenever you shoot your gun and blow shit up, there's not just going to be trash all over your screen for the next 10 minutes, because that's how it is currently. So that's a really nice change. I'm sure that helps for the visibility. They're also doing an audio overhaul. This one sounded really interesting when I read it. Adding new projectile flybys. That's cool. That's nothing. That sounds cool. I think snipers have like a different flyby noise, but then everything else kind of sounds the same. I'm not 100% sure, but that sounds fun. That sounds cool. I don't really have anything to say about that other than that. Just sounds cool. Destruction and explosion sounds. So there's new sounds. We're getting a bunch of new stuff. Refined vehicle and weapon mixes. I have no idea what that means. And improved haptic feedback. Okay, that doesn't matter. Haptic feedback, who cares? UI and HUD updates for clarity and consistency, including overtime indicators, end of round fixes, and new unlock markers for weapons and gadgets. Thank goodness for this last one. I don't care about anything else, but the new unlock markers for weapons and gadgets. I'm in shambles when I try to figure out what I got when I leveled up. So thankfully this is here. But that wasn't like a huge deal, but I'm glad they fixed that. UI and HUD updates though is probably pretty nice. I am sad that I didn't see like a major like server overhaul here or something, because the servers are really bad right now and contribute to a lot of issues. There's a bunch of tiny issues here. Let's see here, like a ton of them. If you want to read these, I would recommend going there. I'm going to skip through most of these, just kind of glossing through here. Small improvements to weapon and camera sway for smoother movement. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of smoother changes. They're changing a lot of things so that the gameplay is smoother and less clunky. This is awesome. We will just have to see how it plays though, because other than that, there's no way of knowing. It's all like up to interpretation on what they mean by settle faster and feel smoother until it gets in your hands. But I'm hoping for some nice changes. Buildings now take more hits to be destroyed by a sledgehammer. This is a funny one. Right now, you could hit a wall like 4 times, 5 times trying to break through it, and the whole building would go down. It wouldn't even break through the wall. The whole building would collapse on you. It's kind of funny. Okay, so back over here on the weapons, this is what they mentioned. Weapon dispersion, that's accuracy or bloom or weapon spread. To better match the damage profile. Nice. So lower damage weapons are going to see increase in dispersion. Higher damage will experience slightly less. I think I said the opposite earlier. I goofed. This is a nice fix. This means that you can actually use snipers on other classes without getting a massive accuracy nerf. For some reason, if you use sniper rifles as an assault or engineer support, you would see a you would get less spread, or more spread. I mean, you would be inaccurate. That's ridiculous. So thankfully they changed that. But they didn't address sweet spot mechanic, which is completely anti-skill. I don't know why they have not addressed that yet. This is nice. Improved reticle settling for automatic weapons to make burst firing more efficient. That's probably awesome. So we'll see how that is. And then they also balance the sledgehammer damage against world objects, so it's probably easier to bash through stuff now. Fix an alignment issue with top-mounted red dots. Who knows what that is? And then a bunch of map changes down there. There you go. They added new markers when you unlock shit. Oh, added preview videos demonstrating how gadgets work. Cool. Okay. Barely any changes for the settings menu. That's unfortunate. The settings menu is pretty cooked. Audio is huge, though. They did a bunch of changes for the audio. Basically, they improved a lot of the audio and added some new audio to the game, whether a bullet's flying by your head or whatever. And they polished some reload audio. So yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, there's still a bunch of stuff. If you read these comments, the vehicle changes are so scarce, and this game desperately needs some vehicle updates. The vehicles are in shambles right now. So sorry to the vehicle community if you guys use vehicles religiously. I'm not going to throw any shade your way, even though I really don't like that. No changes. No changes for vehicles. And okay. And then you know how Twitter is. So just a lot of brain dead comments and whatnot down there. But, you know, I'm not going to point anybody out here. Lovely changes. Lovely changes. We'll see how the game plays. I'm super excited to get my hands on this 2 days from now. As you can see, it is October 26th. So 2 days, that's rough. I hate the Tuesday updates, but it just is what it is. I'll be working the 9 to 5. I'll be working the 9 to 5. So maybe I can get a game in. I wanna get some first impressions. But we'll see. I'm excited for the game, and I definitely think that these changes are going to massively help the game. They're going to improve. The skill gap is what it looks like. The accuracy issues are going to be resolved, so you'll have way better accuracy, consistency, And then the movement is going to be hopefully viable, hopefully usable. That's all we need. The movement mechanics themselves are not too bad. It's just that they're not viable due to the punishments. So we'll see what changes. These updates look really good, so I'm really excited. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you want more content, subscribe down below. I'm pumping this stuff out as fast as I can make it. This editing process, I try and streamline it, but it actually takes a while, and especially getting footage. Sometimes I have really bad games and I just can't get watchable footage. So it is tricky, but thank you guys for sticking with me. Drop a like down below if you liked it. And comments. Always keep me fresh in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.